Oh, hey, everybody. It's Leon and Miranda back for another episode of Checking In. Hi, Miranda. How are you?
I am awesome, Leon. How are you?
Everything is groovy. It's all
Okay,
really good. Yeah, it's all good.
awesome.
Everything cool with you? What's going on?
Oh my gosh. So, our oldest plays soccer. The season just ended. So, we had our first free weekend. And I took them on a girls' trip to Baton Rouge. So nothing crazy, just drove to Baton Rouge from where we currently are.
Uh-huh.
And I had it all planned out. We went to a science museum and an aquarium and to the big mall. They've never been to a mall before. And all these activities. And let me tell you, the only thing they won't stop talking about. The hotel that I got was a suite, and it had a phone in the bedroom and a phone in the living area. And
Right.
the whole trip, all they wanted to do was one kid on each phone talking to each other.
So, of all the cool stuff, it's it's back to 1960s phones.
They loved it. They could not stop. At one time, they're petting stingrays at the aquarium, and my youngest was like, "Mom, when are we going back to the hotel? I want to play on the phone." I was just
Oh, so
like,
for
"Okay,
for everyone who celebrates Christmas, you just heard the ultimate Christmas gift for children.
old
Right?
school
It's just
phone."
it's just get phones. That's it. Not not one of these. One of the old school deals. That's all you got to do.
They don't need electronics. They want, what would you call it? Analog technology?
Yeah,
I don't know.
analog. And I guess next the ones with the rotary dials.
Oh my gosh, they would be in heaven.
That is so funny. That is how
It
cool
really,
is
yeah, it
that?
was really
Wow.
cool.
Wow. Right on. That is good. Well, I'm glad you had a chance to get away. That's
Yes,
the most
yes.
important thing that you
Great
were
time.
able to do that. Yeah, that's really cool. Really cool.
Are you going to tell me something about racquetball before we bring our guest in, or is
Oh,
it just
racquetball is
racquetball?
happening. We have 8 of our players now have contracts with Gearbox Sports. Gearbox Sports is a major racquetball supplier, equipment supplier, and they have sponsored 8 of our players. So that means they get a high-end professional racket. They get bags. They get socks. They get um, gloves. They get eye guards, all professional level material.
Amazing.
We have eight kids that are sponsored by them, and we're really proud of the kids, not only for what they do on the court, because as our viewers know, and as you know, a lot of our kids when they get older, they beat people. So that's a really cool thing. But we're very thankful to Gearbox for recognizing the success that our kids are having and wanting to sponsor them. So that's happening. Our kids will be playing in a tournament in Severna Park, Maryland, the first weekend in December. There's a professionals tournament that goes along with that. And then there's an amateur division. Our kids will be participating in that. 2 of them will be playing in a doubles competition, a charity doubles competition with some members of the ladies' professional racquetball tour.
Wow.
And so we have some good things going on. Yeah, yeah,
That
that's
is really cool.
yeah, referencing our racquetball program in Baltimore called Racquetball Revival. Yeah, so go to the website, check out the cool things we're doing, and donate to help us continue to do this. It's we're all volunteers that work in the program. The kids participate in the program for free. So your donations help us to continue to do what we're doing, along with the tutoring in English, science, math, and Spanish as well.
I was about to say, don't forget the other really amazing things. They're not just
Right,
going to play racquetball, they're getting
right.
support in
Yeah,
so many aspects of life.
absolutely. Yeah. And so we're really happy with that. Our producer Oren Stewart, working in production today, is a part of that racquetball program as well. He helps out. So
Awesome.
very happy and thankful for everything that's going on. Miranda, we're here for episode number.
Ah, you just told me to. Oh my! I'm gonna call it 167, just because my kids won't stop saying 6, 7.
Okay, let's roll with that. 167, and we have A great guest, good friend coming on the show today. Let's bring our guest on. Hello, Sean.
Hey, Sean. I'm so glad that you could be here with us today. This is going to be so fun.
I'm excited to be here. Delighted to be able to chat with you. I've known Leon for more than a decade, probably 16 years, 17 years, something in that ballpark. Yeah.
Did he have hair back then?
Just a little bit.
A little smattering.
A little bit.
Wow.
All the hair he lost, I found. It's actually a nice bun back here. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. 30 seconds in, and it starts on me already. Wow. 30 seconds in.
I think you look incredible, Leon.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
You're
I appreciate that. Sean, introduce yourself to our
viewers. Hi, Sean Tibbetts. I work with AAHOA. I'm the Senior Director of Education here at AAHOA. Been in the hospitality industry 30 years. That's quite a long journey. I worked 11 years in operations. I worked 19 years roughly for a major franchisor, Choice Hotels. And I'm in my first year working for the Asian American Hotel Owners Association. In my operational experience, I worked every position from night auditor to maintenance, housekeeping. I was a sales liaison, an AGM, front office manager, GM, task force, you name it. In operations, I did it. I was very eager in my early years. I went into hospitality right out of high school while I was studying political science. I got a frog in my throat. But yeah, it's been a long 30-year journey. And in that journey, I got to work with Leon Thomas for quite a bit of time. And I'm excited to be nostalgic today, but also talk about what we're looking at in hospitality. Thanks.
Very cool. And how did you and Leon meet? What capacity? Where were you guys working? What were you doing?
So both Leon and I worked at Choice Hotels at the same time, and we worked in the learning and development department, Choice University. And Leon and I were delivering live sessions for general manager certification. And then Leon developed a really incredible program back then called Socially Speaking. And I was able to shadow Leon on a couple of those. And then I started delivering those. And those were really some of the first in industry for social media usage, how you could use it for marketing, how you could use it for guest experience. Really, really cool stuff back then. We trained classes on how to create a book now button, like a radio button, which now has just become second nature. But back then that was not easy. You had to write the code and embed and do all these fun things on different social channels. But yeah, Leon and I spent quite a bit of time working together with Choice, and I enjoyed those years together. Leon and I delivered some really fun, engaging. Prior to coming on, I was telling your producer, I believe in infotainment, right? And I live in a 70-30, and sometimes it switches, right? Sometimes it's 70% fun, 30% information. But for the most part, it's 70% information and 30% fun. And Leon and I knew how to balance that out really well.
Yeah, those were just some of the highlights of my hospitality career, Miranda, working with Sean. Many of the other companies that I worked for, while they embraced or said they wanted you to have fun at work, it was hard to find partners like Sean that you could have fun with at work and deliver education. And I can remember just some great times we had, Sean, particularly when the certification program, the general manager certification program, went from being in person to virtual. Right. And we're figuring out, how do we make this fun? How do we do it? And that we come up, I'm turning right here. I don't have the trumpet with me right now, but we came up with some just fun things that made people want to be there. Yes, it was a fun time working with you, Sean. Thank you. Yeah, it was fun.
Thank you. Yeah. Also, Leon, I'll duplicate your comment. It was definitely one of my favorite parts of my career as well. We do silly things, Miranda. We'd be talking about, heavy general manager knowledge. But the realization is the learner, especially in the virtual environment, you can see them in person. And in capacity like this, unless all the cameras are on, which are going to steal all your bandwidth. And back then, if you're stealing bandwidth, it's going to get choppy. So it's not going to be a great experience. So we had to figure out ways that we could take what happened in the live environment where Leon and I thrived and bring that into the virtual space. So Leon would bring out, a funny hat or some funny glasses or a trumpet. And then, see, exactly. So he'd do that. And then I'd do silly things like mid-conversation, I'd go, and today's session is sponsored by water. Water, have a glass. It's good for you, water. And it would make people in the audience go, what is going on here? But it created a nice ebb and flow, so they just weren't inundated with heavy information for 45 minutes to an hour. So it was definitely a learning journey, but I think it was even to this day, some of the best virtual experiences I've ever seen, bar none.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. So you've done some really cool stuff in your career, and I would think you're still fairly recent to AAHOA. What was it that brought you over to AAHOA? What was it that attracted you to this new adventure, if you will?
Yeah, that's a great question, Miranda.
Well, actually, I'm sorry, but I'm so sorry to interrupt you. For our listeners who are not familiar, first, could you please tell us, I know that you said what AAHOA stands for, but could you just tell us a little bit about it so anybody who's thinking, okay, but what is that? What do they do?
Sure, absolutely. So AAHOA is the Asian American Hotel Owners Association. It started 35 years ago, and it was designed to help Asian American hotel owners to kind of start to thrive and to really look at, sadly, some discrimination that happens out in our world. And what they did is they came together and they said, we know we're a large community. We know we have so much to offer, not just the U.S. economy, but the hospitality industry at large. So they came together 35 years ago and started this association, this nonprofit association, I should say. And they thrive on, one, supporting their members with advocacy. They also want to make sure that we're providing incredible education. Their reach in the community is very large. AAHOA represents somewhere between 60 and 65% of all mid-scale and economy hotels in the U.S. And we have upwards of 20,000 members. So over the last 35 years, they've really taken, I'll give you an example. We have 2 events a year that happen in DC, where our members join forces and they go into the Capitol in DC and they work with their congressperson, their senators. They do state-sponsored advocacy events. We have our hotel owners conferences. We have about 20 plus of those. And then right now I'm actually traveling in Atlanta for a town hall that I'll be delivering at this evening. In addition, Miranda, I know this year in New Orleans, you were able to attend AAHOACon. AAHOACon is one of the largest industry conferences. And at that conference, we have one of the largest trade shows, and we also support education and some of our important initiatives like Her Ownership and Hype for women's initiatives and then young professionals. So AAHOA has been here for 35 years. We are very strong today. The team that I work with internally works with our board of directors, our officers, our incredible CEO, Laura Lee Blake. Our chairman this year, KP Patel, has been fantastic. We're continuing to, move forward, and we're already starting to plan for next year's AAHOACon. So it's really a really exciting time at AAHOA. Thanks for asking.
That's amazing. And before we have to part today, please definitely give everybody information about AAHOACon for next year.
Certainly, I will.
I know that our FIU students had a blast participating in the event. I had a blast in the panel and the trade. Just fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a really incredible week of information, entertainment. It's a lot of fun, but it's also really about advocacy and education. And you just mentioned the FIU students. So I will say this, we are having our 3rd annual collegiate championship. So if you're listening to this podcast, if you're seeing this and you're interested, you can reach out to me. My email is very easy. It's my first name, SEAN at AAHOA.com. So Sean at AAHOA.com. We are coordinating. I know I've spoken with your colleague Suzanne, and FIU will be joining again, it seems. So we're excited to have FIU and the other universities that participate in this incredible collegiate championship powered by Russell Partnership Technologies. And just to give a brief intro to what that is, this provides university and college students an opportunity to work within a simulation that provides them an opportunity to basically create their own hotel and then allow that hotel to operate. And they make the decisions prior to coming to the competition for the first year. Now, it doesn't take a year. It's a simulation, so it does move faster than that. And Heidi Anaya and Dwayne Zuber partner with us, and Heidi's from Russell Partnership Technologies, and Dwayne, of course, is a professor from Grand Valley. And they come out and they work with the students to be able to do that first year prior to the competition, and then they do additional years on site at AAHOA. And it also provides the students, as you were saying, Miranda, an opportunity to engage with industry professionals. They get to talk with our CEO. I had a really great conversation with many of the students. Our senior coordinator for membership development and education, Michael Schwartz, worked with the students and attended an evening event that they did at a bowling alley. It was just a really incredible journey for these students, and we're delighted that we're able to do that for a third year. I will mention that the first year in 24 was actually nominated for an award, and we were in the top 4. Sadly, we didn't win the award. We congratulate the team that did, or the event that did, but we were delighted that that was able to happen. And Miranda, you did ask a little bit about me. I'll just dive in real quickly. Again, 30 years in hospitality. I came to AAHOA because of the community and the culture here. I've been a hospitality person at heart since the moment I walked into a hotel as a night auditor way back in 1995. And I got bit by the bug very early. I started to really focus on that as a career once I became a front office manager, moved into task force roles, traveled around the state of Florida, helping open hotels. And again, 11 years in operations. And in that 11 years, I worked for one management company for 10 years. And then another management company took over the host hotel that I was at. And I worked with them for one more year. And that's when I luckily transitioned over to the corporate world and did learning and development for roughly 19 years.
Nice. Sean, let's talk some about the evolution of education and the evolution of hospitality education, right? Because you've done so much on the education and operation side. Tell us what hospitality or hotel education was like back then,
right?
Where we are now, and where you see it going in, say, the next 3 to 5 years. And that'll give us some opportunity to kind of reminisce about some things that have happened, but also let us know where it's going, because you're always ahead of the curve on where things are going. So talk briefly some about what was, where we are, but where are we going, Sean?
So, Leon, the minute you said that, I kind of laughed in my mind, because there is one piece that's a little cyclical, but I think it's done way better now. And I'll give you the example. When I first started in the industry in 1995, I was brought in to be a night auditor. But of course, they're not going to train you just on the night audit. You have to know how to check people in, how to check people out, how to answer phones, all that stuff. And I remember very vividly the front office manager who was training me put me in a little room and wheeled a cart in with a television, a VHS tape, not a DVD, not a streaming device, a cart, and you rolled it in and just put a tape in and said, when that tape's done, put in the other tape. And I said, okay. And then she left, and I literally was in that room watching videos all day long. And while I get why they did that, and certainly I'll talk a little bit more about where I think education is today and how video can be utilized, I don't think that's really the best way to train a person, right? Just stick them in a room and throw a video in and say, watch this, and then expect magically that they know how to do everything that was in the video, right? So that did happen. The thing that I think was a big change in our industry was there was a couple things, and right, COVID had a part of this, and I don't even like using that word, but it's truthful. I think that these type of platforms, even podcasts, even bite-sized learning, those type of things, I think they had to become they had to come to most people at a faster pace. Now, you and I come from a background where we were live instructors doing a 5-day certification that transitioned to a 3.5-day certification that then had to move virtual just based on the pace of the industry. And luckily, we were ahead of the curve, right? We were already doing great virtual learning and using whatever the features were in the platform so that we could make sure it was highly engaging and also fun, right? 70-30 rule. engaging and fun, meaning the information is critical in the certification program, maybe as much as 75%, but also 25% to keep them at ease. Because that's the one challenge, at least for me, that I felt was the most daunting. Moving from live, where you could see your participants and we could identify that person struggling with math, that person struggling with formulas, this person struggling with concepts in sales. They've never done sales, right? We could eyeball that. And then you and I were very adamant. We'd stay after classes on Thursday and we'd help with study groups.
That's right. Yep.
And we'd go through workbooks. I think that is something that is missed if you don't have the bandwidth in an organization to do that virtually, especially for certifications, right? You need to be able to support your learners where they are. But what I've seen is the biggest change recently is, and I'll just pick up my phone for a second. These devices are where most people are getting their information, whether it's their laptop computer, their tablet, or their phone. So organizations that are making sure that their content is readily available for consumption at a broad base, not just in certifications, but at a broad base, that they can meet their user where they are. I'll just give you a quick example. Hotels that thrive today in housekeeping, if they're doing training effectively, in my opinion, have a tablet that provides them the videos on hand. And by the way, these don't have to be 45-minute, 1-hour videos. All the data that I've seen in the last 5 to 10 years says that the paradigm shift has occurred where people want 60-second reels, 1 minute and 30-second reels, 3 minutes. And what I found was somewhere around 7 minutes is the benchmark for when people just completely disengage. Now, that's for bite-sized learning. There are opportunities for podcasts and things along those lines where the conversation goes to multiple places where that may work. But I've seen most success come from people that even take those and cut those into bite-sized chunks, or if they load it up to a platform like YouTube, they create chapters. And that way that person can go back and say, hey, I watched this webinar on Thursday. I knew the first 3 topics, but that 4th topic, I really want to dive back into that, giving them either the bite-sized version itself or chapters really seems to be the direction. And I think that's going to be the case as these AI tools start to really take over the aspect of instructional design and learning and development. I was telling your producer one more thing prior to coming on live today, that I don't think AI is going to replace hospitality professionals in 3 to 5 years or even as much as 10, but it will start to impact people who don't put it into their workflow. Meaning, if you are an instructional designer in education for hospitality or any field, if you're not leveraging large language models and GPTs for video production and script writing and those things, it'll just speed up your workflow. Always double check what you're doing, but it's helped me leaps and bounds. You know, what used to take me, I remember, Leon, we used to be told for 1 hour of content, you had to put in 8 hours of instructional design. And the pace of market today just doesn't allow for that. You have to have your stuff out there quickly and make it highly engaging. And that's really the key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So true. And one more before we send it back to Miranda. In terms of learning, one of the things that you created was the first series was called Words Matter. Mm-hmm. Right. And you went on with Other Things Matter. Talk to us some about that series of Words Matter. Tell us some about that. I thought that was just a really groovy thing you put together.
Yeah, and I retired that. I hope that they're still utilizing some of that content at Choice because it is incredible. It ended up becoming a full series called Hospitality Matters. But where it started, Leon, and I'll just tell this story because it's actually really powerful. So I come from a family of 4. My mother comes from a family of 10. My wife comes from a family of 11. My mother had 9 siblings, and I have 57 first cousins on my mother's side of the family. I say that to say we're a very large family. Well, one of my sisters, her daughter Jennifer, was a waitress. And Jennifer called me one day and said, Uncle Sean, I know you're in hospitality. I don't understand. I feel like I'm doing a good job. I memorized the menu. I'm doing what the other servers are doing, but I just don't seem to get any tips. And she said, what do you think is the problem? And I said, Jennifer, you're a horrible waitress. And she gasped. And I said, And she said, Uncle Sean, that's mean. And then her mother must have been sitting right next to her. She said, Mom, Uncle Sean just said I'm a horrible waitress. And my sister, without skipping a beat, said, listen to your uncle for a second. And of course, she wasn't a horrible waitress. She just hadn't been adequately trained. So what I asked her was, I said, Jennifer, when I came to the restaurant and you were my server, you were highly engaged with me because I'm your family and you felt comfortable, right? But the other tables, as I watched you go around, you were using nomenclature, regular verbiage that you would use in your social life. Things like sure, yeah. And I said, these are not words that are highly engaging and are going to provide a hospitality approach to things. And one of the things that I live in Jacksonville, Florida. And at the time I was in Jacksonville Beach, and this is where she was serving, she would actually say, no problem quite a bit. And no worries, like a surfer, right? No worries. And I said, Jennifer, if you're saying the word no, and you're saying the word problem, sandwiching them together just creates ideation in the brain that people should be looking for a problem, right? And one of the things that I know you were tickled about, Leon, was when we would talk about welcome calls, right? Now, I know a lot of hotels have moved to a texting format. I'm not against that. But if you're doing an actual welcome call, and this is a segue in the story, if you're doing an actual welcome call, I get phone calls in a room all year long. And Leon, at our peak, you and I were averaging somewhere around 70,000 flying miles a year, right? We were traveling the whole country. And we would get to a hotel and the phone would ring and they would say, hi, Mr. Tibbetts, or hi, Mr. Thomas. We're calling to make sure you don't have any problems in your room. And I would always say to that guest service agent, because again, they didn't know any better. I would say, I don't know if I have problems. I'll look around. I'll be down in a minute to tell you if I do. Because if you're inferring a negative, the human brain would automatically, especially in senior travelers. My mom was very big on this, rest her soul, but she was in Massachusetts where she was from. And when the young lady said, we're calling to make sure you don't have any problems, she said, oh my gosh, let me check. And she got off the phone and 10 minutes later went down with a little folding notebook and said, I found hair in the bathroom. I found hair in the shower. I found hair on the bed. There was a Coke can under the nightstand. Like all of these things that certainly we don't want guests to experience. But again, if you infer a negative, you're going to receive a negative. So get back to Jennifer. I said, Jennifer, instead of saying no problem, sure, yeah, which is your nomenclature or your regular vernacular with your friends, carry a professional tone. It doesn't have to be like stern or static, but say things like my pleasure, happy to help. And the one phrase that is really powerful is please let me know if there's anything I can do to make your dining experience more enjoyable. And the way I shift that into hotels is let us know if there's anything we can do to make your stay or experience more enjoyable. Jennifer, when I said, say my pleasure, she said, Uncle Sean, that's what they do at Chick-fil-A or like the Ritz-Carlton. And I said, Jennifer, do some research. Chick-fil-A is widely touted as one of the best services in fast food. And the Ritz-Carlton has a name for itself. They're great in service. So by saying my pleasure, happy to help, let me know what I can do to make your stay more enjoyable, you're inferring that you're there to provide great service, where no problem or are there problems in your room? So for that guest experience with that welcome call, you would say something like, Mr. Thomas, delighted to have you here in the Atlanta market. You would name your hotel and city. If there's anything that we can do to make your stay or experience more enjoyable, please let myself or any member of our team know. You set the tone. And Leon, Miranda, as you both know, when you're thinking about guest service scores in any medium, whether it's Medallia or some of the other platforms out there, that flip switch of complaint to just being provided service can be kind of stopped in its tracks if you're providing proactive service up front. What I've seen, at least in most cases, if a guest is in a room and they need an extra towel, they remember that Sean said, welcome to the hotel. They remember that welcome call. And if you're not doing welcome calls and you're using the text format, you can put this vernacular into your check-in speech. Pithy, very short, but concise to have that. So get back to Jennifer real quick, because this is funny. She says, I don't think that'll work. And I said, well, Jen, if you do it for the next 30 days, I guarantee you your tips will at least double. She said, that's not possible. I don't believe you. I said, well, I'll wager with you. If they don't, I'll cover whatever the difference to double is. And she was like, oh, wow. And her eyes lit up. I said, but wait, there's a catch. If they do double, I get the second half. Oh, that's not fair. I don't think that's fair. And I said, well, try it and see what happens. So literally 45 days later, her and my sister came over to visit, and she had this envelope with a whole bunch of money in it. And she went to hand it to me. And I said, Jennifer, you can keep that. And she said, really? And I said, yes, of course. I want to provide this information to you so you do better. And she actually got another job later on at a nicer restaurant where she was even able to make more tips. But when I handed it back to her, she did say thank you. And I said, my pleasure. And she shrugged and went, you don't have to say that to me. I'm your family. I said, Jennifer, what you'll find is if you just do this on a regular basis in your professional environment, the way you speak to people in general will shift. And that needs to happen as you grow out of adolescence and into adulthood. You want to have that. Certainly, you'll have your best friends that you grew up with, and hopefully you get to stay connected to them. And you might have chit chat and fun conversations with them. But anytime you're out in the public, you really want to start to shift that narrative so you can provide that. But yeah, Leon, What Words Matter was very popular. Yeah. Ended up becoming a whole series called Hospitality Matters. I actually have about 5 chapters of a book that I started on that with some of those. But yeah, it was a really great time and I really enjoyed that. I'm glad both of you were tickled. Yeah, it's a funny story, but it's true. And my mom was a trip, by the way. She had her little notebook. I feel like the AARP kit, you get that in the mail with the AARP kit. They give you the little notebook so you can write down what the issues may have been. But yeah, don't infer a negative, folks. Always infer a positive.
That's fantastic. What a good example of, yeah. I tell my daughters it's the power of positive manipulation.
Exactly.
And
oh my gosh, Miranda, I say that all the time. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I say the same thing. Positive manipulation. It's non-malice manipulation in a positive way. And by the way, it makes the experience so much better for everybody.
Yes, yes. I'm a big fan. And manipulation sounds negative, but it's like, no, I want to be positively manipulated. Mm-hmm. Like if it makes my experience better, yeah, absolutely.
That's right. There's plenty of social engineering at grocery stores and things like that, right? Those end caps are marketed in a way that actually gear towards us making those last minute purchases. Right? That's why those things are designed that way. Now, some of them are good for you, some of them aren't. But again, if that stuff is going on in the world, Leon, do you remember Disney? I don't want to throw them under the bus, but those the air raiders where they were. Yep. So I don't know if you know this, Miranda, but they actually they did at the time in the Magic Kingdom. They actually will float the smell of popcorn.
Yep.
up to where you're walking. And again, it creates joy. So I'm not against it. I like popcorn just as much as the next guy. But it's fascinating to see those things. So yeah, non-malice manipulation or positive manipulation is not a bad thing, folks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know we're getting close to our signature questions, but I want to ask you, so AAHOA is happening in April of next year. Tell us a little bit about where it's going to be, what to expect, maybe your favorite part of the event.
Absolutely. So AAHOA is happening April 8th through the 10th next year. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be having the 3rd annual Collegiate Championship at AAHOA. That's powered by Russell Partnership Technologies, and that simulation is incredible. If you're interested, look into that because I think it's a very positive platform that can be used to help students really understand day-to-day operations and how their decisions would impact the profitability of a hotel. But AAHOA as a whole is one of the largest trade shows in the country, but it's also one of the most engaging opportunities. And again, anyone can be an AAHOA member. It's not just isolated to Asian Americans. Anyone can be an AAHOA member. And we would love to have you as a member and attend AAHOA. We know for a fact you'll find something really magical that happens there. It is not just the Asian American community, it's the hospitality community. And as Miranda said, she was actually one of our panelists this year in New Orleans. Next year, April 8th through the 10th, we're going to be in Philadelphia, celebrating the birth of our nation, making sure that people feel welcome and feel highly engaged. And what I'll say about AAHOA that I found, and by the way, this is the first year that I was able to attend an AAHOA. And it was really eye-opening for me. Not only was it highly engaging during the day, But the events at night gave what we were talking about earlier, an opportunity for people to let loose and have some fun amongst people who are dealing with the same common issues that each other are dealing with. And that could be everything from inflation to higher wages, right? The cost of business is going up. The margins are shrinking. We recognize that occupancy seems to be flat in most sectors. ADR is doing its best in many markets, but I know many markets are struggling. So we do our best to really weave in some of the best speakers, some of the best keynotes. We want to make sure that people feel that they're getting the most out of AAHOACon. And AAHOA's advocacy is bar none some of the best I've seen in our industry. They really do fight for our members and for the industry at large to make systems and practices better.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I'm already planning it in my head.
Yeah, I'd love to see both you and Leon there for sure. I think it would be great. And I'll work with our AAHOACon team to see if we could get both of you on a panel for next year as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Right on. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, looking forward to it. Sean, each episode we have signature questions. It is now time for our signature questions of the show. Sean, there are actually 3 signature questions. We just don't want to change the video. There are 3 questions.
That's great. Is one of them about bean pies?
Oh, yeah. So you've been watching. Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about that one first. Have you ever had a bean pie, Sean?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
You're welcome to come back to checking in anytime. As Fred Sanford would say, "Inty time." You can come back. Yes.
So Miranda, what he's not recognizing is he didn't ask the follow-up. Do I still have a hankering for bean pies? And the answer is no.
No.
What? That's it. Take him out. He cannot come back. So where did you have bean pie, Sean?
In high school, one of my very, very good friends was Muslim, and his mother actually would make them. And they were very yummy. And then what happened was I was not able to find any bean pie anywhere I went that was as good as that one. So it's just not something that I continue. It was a very good memory for me as a kid. No more bean pies. Now, Leon, you and I, just as a segue, if we have a moment, you and I have embraced pie more than once in the greater Baltimore area.
Oh, indeed. What was the name of the place?
Oh my gosh.
Now I have to go to the Google.
Yeah, go to the Google.
We did.
That place is fantastic.
Yes, dangerously delicious pie.
Of pie for multiple people. Yeah, what is it called?
Dangerously delicious.
That's it.
Dangerously delicious pies in Baltimore. Miranda, when we have meetings in Baltimore, we go, hey, you want to go get some pie? Just go up to random people. Want to go get pie?
You want pie?
What? We're going to get pie. You want to go for pie?
Yeah. And then
you don't want to go for pie?
They'd see us back with our pie slices and go, oh my gosh, I should have got pie.
You should have gone for pie. So then they come up and go, you guys going for pie tonight? No, that was only a one night thing. We're not going for pie. Come on, where's the pie place? I can't tell you the pie place. You should have gone. Should have gone. It was a one night thing. So then the next year or the next meeting there, whatever, hey, if they ask you to go for pie, just say yes. Say yeah. Dangerously delicious pies. Really,
we treated
really
it like a prohibition style speakeasy, Miranda, where if you didn't know, you couldn't go. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That is amazing marketing.
Now, the second question, there's actually going to be a 2 and 2A here. All right.
Okay.
I know the answer to this question because I've seen it happen.
Okay.
I've seen it happen more than once. I was there. But I'm going to ask it anyway, just for the consistency of the show. Have you ever had a crab cake? A Maryland crab cake?
Yes, I have.
Yes, you have.
Yes. On numerous occasions.
Numerous occasions. In Baltimore, even.
Yes, even in Baltimore.
I remember seeing this. But check out this photograph right here.
Okay. Oh, look at that.
There's Sean eating steamed crabs at Mr. Bill's Steamed Crabs in the Essex section of Baltimore.
I love it.
Steamed crabs.
I got my traditional sweater vest and my Kangol hat on.
Yes,
we had a good time at that restaurant.
Yes, you do, with steamed crabs.
That's all crabs, Miranda. That is all just a giant pile of crabs. What Leon's not showing you is he's on the other side of that taking the picture. This wasn't me just going out and indulging by myself. We had a really good time. We actually brought others the following year or a couple of years later.
We did that.
I don't know. I don't know if I would share. That's not enough crabs for me to share. I think I'd have to keep.
I love it. I love it. That was a lot of fun.
Not enough to share. All right, right on. Miranda, over to you.
Awesome. So I'll close this out with our final signature question. If you could go back in time and give your 20-year-old self one piece of advice, pearl of wisdom, affirmation, what would it be?
I would joke and say invest in cryptocurrency early and get out, but that obviously that's low hanging fruit. I would say follow your path. Your journey is going to take you where it needs to go. Stay positive. Focus on hospitality. It's going to serve you well. It served me well for 30 years. In addition to being, a learning and development professional and a hospitality professional, I'm also a musician. I make sure that I give time. I think this would probably be the best answer. Make sure you give time for yourself and your faith. That's so important, and it's going to serve you more than you know in your career. I think people don't do that enough. They think that by sacrificing the time with family and friends and their social life, that they're hindering their ability in their professional career. And I've just found that not to be true, especially in hospitality. Now, in other areas, I don't have as much knowledge, so that might not be the case. But in hospitality, if you're not engaging in things you love and enjoy, it's going to show. Leon, you and I used to talk about disingenuous. Going back to words matter for a second, you can train people to say, it's another beautiful day here at the hotel. And if they do it like that, it's another beautiful day here at the hotel in Baltimore. This is Sean. How may I delight you? You said all the right words, but there's no personality there. So highly engaged and effective people would be like, good morning, and thank you for calling our hotel. We're in the beautiful Baltimore Harbor. We're delighted to hear from you. How may I help you, right? So you have that additional oomph. And I think that is created by having great relationships in your personal and professional life. So that would be my advice to myself.
That's fantastic advice. That's so funny that you say that. My husband and I were just having the conversation about how at home is the only place that you're not replaceable. Like
right.
Everywhere else you go in the world, you're replaceable.
Right. Wow, that's a great line right there. I'm going to have to remember that. That's right. At home is the only place you're not replaceable. Yes.
Yep. I tell my students that if you have something going on at home, that is way more important than what we've got going on here. So
yeah.
You can't break anything. In hospitality, it's very hard to break something that can't be fixed later, right? Yeah. Whether that's a physical thing or even and listen, all of us on this call have made mistakes in our career. And that would be the other thing I would say is leverage your mistakes to gain wisdom. Don't look at every mistake as, oh my gosh, what happened? Because I was really hard on myself quite a bit early in my career if I'd messed something up. But the truth is, most of the things you're going to mess up are actually going to provide you something later on in life. Mm-hmm. And that's the token of wisdom I can provide. It served me well over 30 years. I think it'll serve me well for the next 25 or so as I look at retirement. And I hope that's true. I do think that the hospitality world is changing, but not at the pace that people are saying. Kiosks at even retail stores didn't really go over very well. Most people don't want to check themselves out of even, a retail store. So while I do think we'll see more of that in hospitality popping up, I still think a human element is going to be necessary to provide incredible service. So keep your heads up, stay strong. Our industry goes through ebbs and flows. I know it's challenging right now for owners, operators, and staff of hotels. We're here to support at AAHOA. Would love to have you go to our website, click on education, look at some of our recorded virtual experiences that we've done, and think about April 8th through April 10th in 2026 in the great state of Philadelphia. We'd love to see you there. And again, Miranda, you and Leon are both invited. So looking forward to working with you again.
Great. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you so much.
Sean, thanks for being here, and I want you to know I appreciate your friendship, our long-lasting friendship. You know, Miranda, you hear folks all the time when you have a colleague at work, right? You say, "Yeah, after you leave here, we'll always be friends," and you know all that. We're friends for life, and all those things, right? And then one of them leaves the organization, and then suddenly it's like they've been cut off, like the calls get blocked, and all of that stuff goes on, and you don't talk to people anymore. That's not the way Sean is. Right, we've been together, so I appreciate you. Yeah,
you bet. Yeah, it goes back to hospitality for both of us. You know, we both believe in this industry, and we both believe in the importance of relationships. Whether that's something that is just, and by the way, and that's another real clear indication I want to say. While you're not friends with your guests, you are forming somewhat of a give and take relationship while they're there staying at your hotel. And Leon and I really embody that. So no, my phone is not ever turned off to anyone. Anyone can reach out to me. I'm always happy to talk to people. And Leon, you and I had so much fun, but we also were highly engaging and impactful. I know for a fact that, you know, in those years after you moved on, and I've heard it from colleagues after I moved on from my last employer, people still look for us, right? And I'm lucky with AAHOA that I get to see a lot of those same faces. And the AAHOA folks are delighted to see me. And, oh my gosh, you're with AAHOA now? And yeah, I love it. And by the way, the community is just so amazing. It really is a culture within the AAHOA community, as it is in hospitality. So, Leon, I couldn't thank you more. Miranda, it's always a delight to speak with you. Look forward to chatting more in the future.
Likewise.
Right on. Thank you, Sean. Thanks for being here. Wow. I told you, Miranda, Sean's a good guy, great educator, but the cool part, work is fun, right?
Yes.
He makes work fun. Yeah. And so it's really, really good. So
what was the term you said? Information? Was that it? Did I get that right?
Let's bring him back on. Let's make sure real quick, Sean, let's get it right. What is that term again, Sean?
Infotainment.
Infotainment. I'm going to use it.
Again, 70-30 rule. I use that a lot in life. So again, depending on the environment, something like this, you want to be informative, but we also had a lot of fun on this call, right?
Yes.
So, you know, it was probably more 60-40, but as long as you're somewhere in that range, it really does provide, and especially during the learning, right? Going back to me being put in that room with a cart and a VHS tape, and then even being like, there's no recap. It's just put the next tape. That doesn't provide great training. Infotainment would have been coming back in after the video is done, you know, set your watch, come back in. What did you learn in that video? Give a recap, do a teach back moment. Those are the type of things that really do create that relationship in the workspace. And that's what creates the infotainment thing. You do want to be, because all of us have been in that one where it's just information, and heaven forbid they're reading a slide deck to us with a 3-point font and 7 graphs, right? You're going to get trapped in the synergistic effect of the minutiae.
Yeah, and the graph, and on the graph you go, I know you probably can't see this, but here's what it says, right? Here's what it shows, right?
Anytime, I know you can't see what's up here, but and again, people just don't know until they know. And when you've done instructional design, you've delivered sessions, you know that. Another example is turn off your email if you're in a virtual space, especially if you're sharing your stuff. I've seen people make mistakes where a message will pop up in Teams or an instant message or an email. And, you know, heaven forbid that's proprietary information or something you don't want somebody to see. Could be personal. So yeah, just be mindful. Professionalism is always the key, but you gotta have some fun there too. So infotainment. Again, real joy today. I really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. And folks, if you would like to be a guest on the show, contact me. Send me an email, leon@theleonthomasgroup.com, or you can contact Miranda.
Miranda. Not because I'm important, but because it's the only Miranda Kitterlin Lynch you're going to find.
That's it. Google her. And we'd love to have you on the show. Miranda, we have some other real cool conversations coming. We have Calvin Stovall, who's written a book.
Yes.
about hidden hospitality, about Black hotel owners. He will be on with his Greg DeShields and Sean Murray. They'll be coming up also on the next
Awesome.
couple of shows of Checking In. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. Miranda, thank you again for being here and in this partnership with me. I appreciate you being a part of it.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well.
And everyone, we will see you next time on Checking In. Take care, everybody.